Episode 5 of Hardpoints. We're back, folks. Atlanta homestand is coming up this weekend. I'm sure Crowder's very excited for that one. But before we break down what's going to happen for you guys this weekend, make sure you guys follow the channel. Check out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Sub to our YouTube channels, and make sure you guys follow every single Hardpoints episode. But in this episode, we're going to be breaking down some of the roster decisions that teams are making, changes to the actual gameplay aspect for CDL, and then obviously the groups and the first round matchups for this weekend. So to start off the episode, there was a big sort of move with the Seattle side. Enable sort of announced via, I guess, his stream, had some comments to say about it of himself getting benched. I guess we're going to start there and explain sort of our thoughts on that decision.
One thing that I did find interesting, thinking back to our episode last week, I think it was Joe that brought up he didn't like Octane's tweet about how they weren't prepared enough, right, coming into the event. I think is how it was
and
worded,
Enable
Joe.
like he really honed that in.
In his video, he basically said this was kind of deserved, is the way I took it, because he wasn't as prepared as he should have been. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That maybe that's what Octane was alluding to some degree. Not sure, but
could be.
I'm surprised to hear that from a player that's one of the greatest FPS players of all time.
It's weird though, because I've always felt like he, and even like last year, was always playing tens and putting in his own extra time. So it's almost sort of like maybe that's just the way he's looking at it, is like, I guess I just have to get better, right? Like he's been around for so long. It's just sort of like, I guess I have to play more. I think he knows, like, stat wise, he hasn't been great. Like it's just what it is. So I think maybe he's just looking at it from I have to improve what I was doing, because there's a few ways you could look at it, like, and there's a few ways to sort of own it. And fact of the matter is he was benched, and that's his way of looking at it. Of I have to put more time in. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think the way he handled it was really professional, which is nice to see out of the COD scene, obviously early in the CDL, because this is probably going to happen more often, right? Like more than often, eventually, like going down the line. But the only thing that I hate about this benching is not like, I'm obviously very biased. He's one of my best friends and I coached him last year. It's just being his coach. He was one of my favorite people to coach because of the fact, like, I don't know what happened behind the scenes this year. I don't live in California with him anymore. Like, I don't know, like, if it was him that was underprepared or whatnot. But like when I joined that 100 Thief that roster, he was bad. Like he wasn't playing well. It was the same thing last year, the same thing this year. Like he wasn't playing that well statistically. He could have been better. He understands Call of Duty very well. He knows how to look at the mini map and figure it all out. Like I've been with him for so long, but he just wasn't playing that well, like skillfully wise. But there was a lot of nights where we went into theater and like watched his own gameplay together. And he, in my opinion, got so much better in such a little time. I think you guys can all agree, watching the 100 Thieves team last year, like Ian stepped up big time. And that was
dramatic.
Other than Preston doing very well and joining their team and everyone getting better, like, if Ian kept playing pretty poorly, they wouldn't have been a top caliber team. Like he got much better throughout the year. And I think it's because like he kind of woke up and watched his own gameplay and put so much effort in. Like I think Ian has a lot of talent. I think he is very good. And I think this wake up call is probably the best thing for him. But I just wish like this was like a wake up call and be like, you have one last chance. We'll see though. Maybe he goes back in, maybe like obviously improves and goes tens and does all the things that he needs to do.
Right.
But I know for a fact that when we did that with him last year and we sat down and watched his things, it was just like little plays that he was just making that were making it harder on himself and not really the talent part of it. So I would love to see him do that again and then obviously come back even stronger.
Yeah, it's an interesting point too, because all these players got thrown into a different situation than what they're used to last year. A lot more rules, restrictions, and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. We thought teams were going to make moves quickly. I didn't think Surge was going to be one of those teams, personally. I thought a roster like that, they would give it a little bit more time. So making a move like this quickly, it makes me think, who's calling the shots? Is it Octane? Is it a combination of people? It's interesting, because you would think, based on how that team is going right now, Octane's probably the one with the most, weight to his voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, or is it the coaching staff, or it's interesting to me that was the player that they decided to go for. And then obviously the person that they benched him for that's going to be stepping up is Pander, right? So it's like,
I think so, yeah.
Is that
Pander Proto? Yeah,
right?
One of the
So potential role clash, right? Pander's sort of like a slower main AR type guy,
he's
right?
a main AR.
So is that what they're looking for? There's a lot of. Go ahead.
They have to think this is going to help them in Surge, right?
That's exactly what I was about to say. I think the one
Definitely.
thing I didn't touch on is Ian or Enable has been obviously historically known not to be the best Surge player. And I think maybe that could just be the decision making too. It honestly might not have even him been like being bad or anything with statistics. It might just be like we just need a little bit more power in S&D.
Yeah.
That could have honestly been it. Like we don't know the behind the scenes of that, so that could easily have been like the reason.
Chris, do you think with that core 5 roster, like, do any of you think this could have been a team that got to a point where they were winning 60% of their searches? I don't. No, I don't think they would have. Now, is this going to fix it?
Of a history? No.
Do I think this is going to fix it? Probably, maybe not. But I don't know. I think that has to be a big piece.
I mean, I respect him for trying something.
At the same time, though, like I actually take back my no on that. Obviously, history speaking, like they don't have the best search and destroy players of all time, obviously. But like, I would really like to see a team actually practice S&D. You know what I'm saying? And then like see where it takes them. Like I feel like a lot of teams don't really practice
S&D.
That's my point. Like I feel like there's just so much. Even as when I was a player, when you play search and destroy online, it is like pulling teeth to get people to go and like go really hard and really put it all, like, you know what I'm saying, like actually play slow. Don't run up the middle of the map and just throw your life away and be like, oh, he's sitting in his base in an online scrim, like ha ha ha. Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel where if players actually really took their search practice like more serious, I feel like that team, like they're more than capable. They're some of the best players in the world. They can do that. So like I would never say they could not have get to that like point. I just think it depends on how much effort they wanted to be like put in.
Joe, what did Pac always say in the green room? Like he always said to me, like, and I don't think he meant it. He basically would say like you can practice S&D all you want, but some people get it and some people don't. Like when it comes to search, some people are better, like just better search players. You can put it all the time in the world. Like, some people just get it. Like it's something that just clicks with search. And I'm not a pro. I've never been a pro. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I know Pac always said that to me. Like
I just think that like there's a way to go about it. Like I think we touched on it briefly in a previous episode. Like when Formal really went on his rise, what was he doing? He was playing S&D tournaments with Pharaoh and Blast and those guys and Joe's like all night.
3v3.
Like we touched on with Shotzi. That's what we were talking about. Like the fact is once Enable came over, he would join the team and he just focused on respawn. Like he never played late night S&D turns, or maybe he did, but like that's never been a part of his game where he's like, I'm going to dominate search. Like that's never been a part of him. And I don't know why. I don't know why it's a thing. That's his own mindset that he has to change. But like that's what we talked about with Shotzi. The great thing for Shotzi is last year, all he did last year because he wasn't 18 was played online S&D, so that when he turned 18, he's gonna get it. He has a better understanding. Now his focus is going to be on respawn, which you're playing with some of the best respawn players in the world. He's going to get better. Like
it makes me think of Joe. Like this is probably a bad analogy, but I think of like NBA players, like how they can be such good shooters, but like some players just can't make free throws. Like it drives me insane. Yeah. Like how do you not just put in the time? It's like I was a Lakers fan growing up, and like Shaq, I get like big hands, how it's hard, but like I'm like, if you're paid millions of dollars, like how do you not just stand at the goddamn free throw line until you can make free throws? Like how do you just not put time in until you fix it? I know it's not the same, it's not 1-to-1, but
it's evolving as a player though, like which you can compare it to. Like I think a good player to compare it to the NBA is like LeBron. Like he didn't have a great 3-point shooting range until 5-6 years into his career. When the game started to evolve, he recognized that this is something that he has to change. He focused on it. So like you can compare it to it. Like it's just it's something he has to recognize and focus on it. He has to put the extra effort into it. It's just what it is.
Yeah, it's really good talking points too. And I guess the S&D online community is obviously not where it once was.
Where it was.
Yeah. And the rules of players playing in those types of tournaments is different now, being part of these CDL teams, right? Or am I mistaken on that? Can they go and play an online tournament? Do we know? Are we allowed to talk about that?
I think you can play a tournament. I don't think you can do wagers.
So like it's another talking point I just thought of while you guys were bringing up all those different things. Like these players might not have the same outlets as you used to work on your game as an individual. So like watching those late night S&D streams, I don't know, Black Ops 3, for example, I'd watch those streams. That's how I would learn.
Those are awesome.
So some players just think about the game mode differently, and it's very interesting to get those different POVs when you're playing with different people. You just learn more reps. Players aren't getting them. When they don't get them, they struggle. So interesting to see.
Last thing on that is the only thing I'm going to say is like I wonder if that we get to a point. Someone brought it up with like Toronto, why they're such a solid S&D team is because they have a full 5-man bench, and maybe they can practice S&D versus them. So maybe that's where we'll get to, is where Seattle has a 5-man team and they can just go hard against each other. And then the good thing for the bench team is like if you start to play really well against the A team, right? Like that's how you move up the roster. All I'm saying is like that traditional sports sort of practice squad work could potentially be used here.
Yeah, good point. Something to think about for teams moving forward, and especially teams that struggle at a particular mode. So yeah, I guess the next point on that is from Enable's POV. You guys sort of brought it up that he's taking it professionally, right? He has a good outlook on it. He knows what he needs to do to get back in the right line, but you start talking about trades, or you just ride the bench. What are your options at this current moment? It's interesting to talk about. It's the first time we've seen someone of his caliber, in this position now. So like, what do you do? Do you try and I don't even know what the process would be moving forward. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we probably will never know with how like the contracts work, things like that. But is a trade, like would another team be interested in someone like Enable, for example? Like, what are your guys' takes on that? Like,
I think so.
You got to try and play, right? That's my point.
He's one of the. Do I think he's been competing for what now? A decade plus. Like he started when he was like 11 or some shit with Halo. He's one of the most decorated console FPS players of all time. Now, do I think he's on the latter half of his career? Obviously, but he is still better than some players in the league. I think he will.
Like a team
I think we'll find out personally. I think so. We'll see if, like Chris mentioned, that all the time he put in to get better last year. I mean, it sounds like he knows that's what he needs to do now. But does he have a Chris that's going to get him there? I don't know.
I know for a fact. I know for a fact when Ian puts in the work and he looks over his gameplay and he does what he needs to do. Like I know, like I'm pretty good at evaluating talent. He still has the talent to be on a starting pro roster. He's still a good player, a good teammate, a good vibe to have. It's just whether or not he gets that chance now, of course, and then whether or not he wants to get to that level again too.
Yeah, that's why I think whatever Clint said is cat, because I mean you could say he's maybe for his stats, like he's on the latter half, but he's been on TK, who last year or 2 years ago they got second at champs. They won stage 2 playoffs, and last year he was on a 100 Thieves team. That I don't know to say he's on the latter half of his career.
How long he's been competing? Like he is at this point.
Yes, but he's still been on really good teams.
Yeah,
it's not like he's not putting up results because
no,
he is.
No, not at all. Oh, yeah, no, that's not the point I was trying to make at all. He's just a pure numbers game at this point. He's just been competing forever.
Yeah.
What he did with 100
he's not the fucking
impressive.
Yeah.
What he was doing,
Mr. Young Gun anymore.
Yeah.
He's a vet by every definition of the word vet at this point.
No, definitely, yeah. I just don't think he's like at the point where like he just can't keep up. Like I still think he has plenty of talent where he can easily keep up and he can easily do it. It's just now getting the chance, getting to that form, and then just doing it. So I think he's fine. I think he's also a really good addition to a team. Like when he's in that grind, that grind mindset mode, I think he's really good.
Yeah, the only in terms of trades, I mean, I'm sure you could analyze every team. The one that sticks out to me is Optic, obviously, because of Kenny and Slasher last year. Like, do they want to play with him again? I don't know the answer to that question. I was again, at the start of the CDL, everybody was just trying to go everywhere and build the dream team. I was surprised a big core of the 100 Thieves roster didn't try to stick together more last year, just with how good that team was. So maybe if JCap is really struggling the way he is, maybe Enable does fit in there. I don't know how the trades would work out. I'm not exactly sure. Does Seattle want Cap? I don't know the answer to that question, but that to me was the one team that sort of stuck out as a potential landing spot for Enable.
You would just need more pieces involved in that. Obviously, that 1-for-1's not happening, I don't think. But yeah, you and I talked offline about it, but
the only
there's
thing
a lot of stuff that
would make sense for Seattle as a 1-for-1 is salary cap. If Enable is being paid more than Cap is, you just take it because you're paying less money month to month. I don't know, but that's the way we have to look at things. So
all this stuff, I applaud the teams for making such a bold decision this early on, especially when you're thinking of things like salary cap, things like that. Taking a pretty big risk early on, right? We haven't seen these teams very much. They're making a bold play by benching someone of his caliber, in my opinion. Not a lot of time has gone by, so we'll see if they made a good decision, if they see fast improvements, things like that. Crowder, you got some?
Last thing. The only reason why I don't think it's as bold as it is I was actually talking to a few players earlier today. Starting this league off slow is also something that you do not. Well, we talked about a little bit last back. You do not want to start this league off slow and not get points early, because in this league, it's not just like regular league matches now where it's like, oh, we have to win like 3 in a row and we're fine. We're in the league. Like you have to do well in tournament environment league matches. Do you know what I'm saying? Like these are not like win 2 matches and you're in the league anymore. This is like win a tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like win an entire tournament. You have to beat Chicago, this team, and that team to even get 50 CDL points or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like depending on like what you need. So I feel like the reason why it's not as bold as it would be if it was just regular league matches is that starting off slow is actually pretty like you do not want to, you want to stay away from that by like all means. You want to be at like the end of this year sitting pretty, being like, all right, we're going to champs. You know, like you don't want to be like, all right, well, we have to win this last event or get top 4. Like that's a lot more nerve-wracking, a lot more pressure, and just not the situation you want to even be close to being in my opinion. So that's why I think that's actually probably not that crazy.
By bold, I meant, do you trust someone like Pander to get a top placing, or do you trust it Enable? You know, there's a lot that goes into it.
To that point, though, TeeP, you sort of said Octane's probably the ones making decisions, but I think which makes sense.
Guess.
Like, him and Pander go back.
They're the best friends.
For sure.
They go way back.
That's what makes it interesting.
I can't remember when they first teamed together. We're probably talking 2015.
I don't know if they ever. I mean, they may have teamed together, but they've been best friends like for a long time.
No, they definitely. I remember when Pander filled in for LG at ESWC for Saints. But I'm pretty sure Octane and Pander were on a team on the come up like years before that, unless I'm talking out of my ass.
Couldn't tell you, but yes, if it's Pander, then it's 100% Octane's call because I mean he's probably the reason Pander's on this roster.
So,
I'm nearly certain years and years and years ago they played together. So that's
interesting point. Yeah. So I mean, you kind of not too surprised that Octane's getting what he wants, right?
I mean, he should be. Yeah. So I'd be like, Octane, what the hell do you want?
All right.
What do you want around you?
I feel like we touched on that topic a good amount. Definitely some interesting talking points moving forward to see if other teams follow suit, if they're going to play a little bit more safe with their roster that they have, trades, all that type of stuff. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Moving forward, though, I guess we're going to talk about, we touched on this stuff a little bit on the previous episode, but the change to the game mode timers. If you guys want to walk us through what actually changed with the Search and Destroy, the DOM, stuff like that, what impact that will have on not only the match schedule, but the game itself.
Well, just a reminder to people why we sort of said these needed to happen is because just from Joe and I's POV on like the broadcast side, like our days were running really long. You never want to have 12 to 14 hour broadcast days. Series were taking 2+ hours. We had searches. We recorded like our 3 longest searches in the history of Call of Duty esports because of the 2-minute round timer. So we were trying to think of ways to tighten up the broadcast a bit, as I think where this discussion started. So it goes to 90-second rounds, which is what we've had in Call of Duty for quite some time, and 5-minute halves for Dom. Dom, I don't think it's going to be much of a difference, like shaving off 2 minutes and less wasted time.
It's what it always was. I don't know what 6 minutes, why it was 6 minutes.
The search thing, I think might be a little bit weird at first, but I know people like Simp were excited because he thought there's going to be less camping, forcing people to make plays earlier. The one tweet I saw from Pat that was interesting was just, I guess, around Arklov Peak. I think that's the map that some people are a little worried because it's just big. It's a big map, and it's that might be tough.
I mean, the two big things, right, with the 2-minute round search, obviously dead silence change. I think that's a big part of it, right? Offenses are scared to move. You need time, right? You can get your dead silence in a round with 2 minutes. The second thing is, like, due to the size of some maps, it's hard to rotate to some bombs. So I mean, Clint, you and I casted some searches where there'd be nades, 30 seconds would happen. People would get to spots, and then a minute, people would just stop. Like, people would just prone and wait. Like, nobody was moving. And I think that's just sort of where it's almost like, what's going on here? And I know that's just because of dead silence, and it's a part of the game, but it almost feels, I don't know. It was just slow things down like a lot. And I get it, because then the offense can rotate bomb sites. The defense never knows where they are. I understand the parts of it, but really besides Arklov, Ramaza, you can rotate bombs really quick. Petra, you can rotate bombs really quick.
I'm only worried about Arklov. Like that, as far as I'm not even worried about it exactly. It's just that's the map that might be
harder to rotate. Yeah, but that's really it. Yeah.
And I totally get it, like how important Deddy is, but having strategies over and over just based on you just sitting there waiting, it's just bad for the game. It's bad for the spectator. It's bad for the actual time of the tournament. It's just like, I I think we all wish certain things would be different, but I think this is a the overall positive change.
I mean, we played wagers, Steve, at the beginning of this game.
We sure did.
We were literally like,
yeah,
this has to be 96 rounds. We would just be proned for minutes.
You
just like waiting for Daddy.
You think I'm running out B on Ramaza without Daddy? Absolutely not. I'm laying on my belly. I got my smoke. You Daddy smoke.
Rounds just died. Like they would die for a minute.
We're not CS.
Yeah. So
like they would just die.
We're not playing CS.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, just wanted to touch on the actual in-game timers. Dom shouldn't be that much differently, but it'll be interesting to see how teams adapt to mostly offensive strategies when those times are obviously going to be cut down a little bit. So yeah, moving forward, I guess we can just hop right into the matchups that we're going to see for the Atlanta homestand. There's a schedule change. You guys,
I want to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to lead into that, but yeah, go for it.
Well, I think Joe, you can probably break it down because I think you're the one that talked about it last week. Sorry, TeeP, I thought you were going to go right into the matchups.
No,
I just want to make sure we didn't miss this.
Yeah, Joe, so the schedule's changing. So there's 13 matches over the weekend, right? At London, we did 6 and 7. So basically, at London, you still had the 2 loser matches left in the pools, and then the 2 deciding matches. So you had the 0-1 teams play, and then you had the 1-1 teams play. First of all, it was just way too long of a Sunday, right? I think we talked about like people didn't understand what was going on here. So what I think having a bulk of 8 matches on Saturday sort of just play out. You understand this is all pool play. It'll be easier to follow. Sunday, you will just have decider matches with semis and finals. The good thing is, too, teams won't be waiting around to play all day. Like, there's already going to be teams sitting in semifinals. Like, Optic and I forget who else was in semis. Was it London? Like, they waited and they didn't play till like 7 or 8 p.m. on Sunday. Like, that's not great for them. And then the 0-1 team, they could have potentially played 4 matches in a row, and you know how that momentum can go. So I think it's just a very good like stopping point after 8 matches.
Yeah.
And again, it's to build. Sunday needs to be important, and the matches need to be built up. With 7 matches on Sunday, we were just like, go. We got kicked out of the venue, right? Like, that's not how. I know it's not it's a homestand final, but like it has to be built up for Sunday.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited to see how the differences play out. I think the community should be on board with it too. And I guess on that note, we'll just throw up the groups. I'm going to do that right now. Bang. There we go. We got Group A, Faze, Mutineers, Optic Gaming LA, Royal Ravens, and then in B we got the Huntsmen, the Rocker, Legion, and Ultra. So I don't know who wants to take it away with each of these groups here, but pretty well balanced groups, I guess. I don't know. B's a little bit weaker. I will say that.
Super balanced. Like, I think Faze is guarantee for most of us, but the other 3, I think it wouldn't surprise me if any of the other 3 got out. We've heard Optics gotten better. I still don't think people still want to see it. But Florida and London, like, we got asked our match predictions, and it's like a 50-50 for me. Like, we didn't see Florida at London. So when they play each other, you have to imagine that Florida is going to do their homework, especially S&D wise. Just feels like with London, they still can't get there. Like, they can't. I don't know. They lose in a game 5. It's just like, well, they fall short again. So Group A is interesting with those 3 teams. And then I think Group B, it's Chicago, Paris. Minnesota can be solid, but I think everybody just sort of looks at Chicago and Paris as sort of the 2 as the favorites.
Yeah, definitely. I think most of us probably have similar thoughts there. I'm very, very interested to see how the Royal Ravens are going to bounce back after their homestand. I thought that was that. I need to. We've seen really, really good things out of Wuskin. How are the other players, the quote unquote superstars on that team, the Dylans, the Scraps? Like, how are they going to bounce back? If they can come out and have a good showing here, I have a lot of faith for them throughout the entire year. If they come out short and like don't make it out of the group, for example, I'm very, very worried for them. And then B side, Paris was a great surprise for me. I wasn't sure what to expect going into London as well, but they look like they're the real deal. And from what we saw from the Ultra, from what we saw from the Rocker, I don't know if they have the talent to sort of keep up, to be honest. So yeah, Paris, I have them definitely making out with Chicago and B, at least on my predictions. What do you two think?
Yeah, I'm excited too to just see the rematch with Chicago Paris, like because that was a game 5, like reverse or not reverse sweep, but it went all the way to a game 5 where Paris won 2 hard points. So if we get that rematch, that'll be fun to watch.
I think the thing I'm the single most excited to see is how much better Optic got, for sure. Just if they got better. Well, I said that I think they'll be the best team this year. I feel like at this point, I've got to see something. Like, I don't think they're at that form yet, but I need to see they've improved drastically since we saw them in Minnesota. If they haven't, then I will be concerned. But I actually, if you want to talk predictions, I think it's going to be. I'm going Faze Optic, and I'm going Chicago, Minnesota. I thought Minnesota were great. I think Minnesota could do it. Now, that's not to knock Paris. I think Paris has obviously been consistent to open stuff up, but I'm going to go the different route. I'm going to take Minnesota.
Like that.
Yeah. I mean, to talk about my group, obviously, I'm not really going to go too far into my group because...
Just break it all down, Chris.
Tell us what you know.
But I will say one thing. I think OGLA got much better. I think they've been playing very well. I think that team, knowing a lot of those players pretty closely, they're going to be like a whole different team than you guys have seen, obviously, at the first event. We obviously didn't see them at London. So they definitely got better, in my opinion, just coming from watching scrims and just seeing seeing their players play 10s and stuff. Like, I think they understand way more like what they're doing and everything. And once again, like, one slasher knows the cards that he's been dealt. Like, he makes it work most of the time. So I would be very shocked if we don't see an improved OGLA. So I think they're going to be a very good team, and I'm actually excited to watch our first match because they're a great team. So it should be a good one. And then going into the rest of our group, I mean, I just think right now for the whole London thing that you guys were talking about, to touch on it a little bit, I think London, for me, I love this team. I love this team when they got formed. I thought they were going to be very good. Obviously, they kind of fell short a little bit here and there, just by this much. But like, still, I think this team is going to rely on Dylan. I think Dylan needs to be Dylan. We talked about it last podcast. Mm-hmm. I think he's obviously more than capable of it. He's amazing. He's a rare talent. Yeah. I think he needs to perform like the rare talent that he is, and I think this roster is golden, obviously. So I think they're more not eyes on that team, but eyes on him. I think if he does what he's doing and Wuskins keeps it up, I think their team is completely fine. So I'm really excited to see just how he shows out, because I don't know too much about them behind the scenes, but those guys work really hard. They go really hard in scrims. Like, they're a good team. They have a lot of passion. I love that team, so I'm super biased for it. But I just want to see how Dylan plays this event, and I think if he comes out like the Dylan we know, I think that's a scary team. So that would be what I would really say on Group A. I don't have much else to say. And then Group B, since it's not really my group, I mean, I think we all have Chicago coming out.
Yeah.
But I know I want to say Paris, but man, like, I know the Minnesota coaching staff. I know their players. I'm very good friends with ASIM, and I know that they're probably one of the hardest working teams in this league. So they might have not shown the best of their ability, but I really think they're going to come out like a whole nother team. Like, their preparation, at least, they'll be very well prepared. So I wouldn't count them out. And then I don't know anything about Ultra, to be honest. We haven't played them. So I haven't really talked to Nick or any of them.
Their roster.
Yeah. So I don't know much about them right now. So they're just kind of a question mark for me. But I really think Minnesota is just such a well prepared team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and played really well. But I'm a big fan of Paris as well. So that's on the fence for either Paris or Minnesota coming out. I don't know anything about Toronto, so can't really touch on them.
All right, for sure. So a little bit of a game that I've decided we're going to play. I'm making this call for all of us. We're going to give our predictions on the groups of who's going to make it out. All right. So Clint, I think you gave your official predictions of who's going to make it out. But let's go through one more time. Groups A and B, the two teams that we all think are going to make it out. So I'll start. I think out of Group A, I'm going to go Atlanta Faze, and I'm going to give it to the Royal Ravens. I hope they don't let me down. And then for Group B, I'm going with the Huntsmen, obviously, and I'm going with Paris Legion. Those are my picks to make it out of Group A and B. Someone else follow up with your officials.
I said mine, but I'll just repeat them again. I'm going Faze Optic, and then Huntsman Rocker.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris. I got to think about this, dude.
All right. Well, I hope my team's one of the teams that makes it out, so I'm going to go Faze.
Yep.
You're getting 3-0 by Optic round one, bitch.
I got to go with that one, so I hope Faze makes it out. And I'm gonna give OGLA the benefit of the doubt. I really
Okay.
think they got much better.
Here we
I
go.
really do. I think
I can't
what
pick
I
them
said
yet,
about
dude.
I'm but I don't know. I'm giving OGLA the benefit of the doubt.
I'm a
they're really
believer,
good,
baby.
man.
I'm a believer.
Okay.
I'm
So
sticking
We'll
with
see.
it.
And then
No one's talked
What?
about Florida, and I think they're a really underrated team.
no, they
You
are
picking
no,
them,
they
though?
are underrated. They're a good team, but this is
Are
a
you
tough
picking
group.
them, bro?
That's a
Like,
tough group. I'm not. I don't.
That's what I mean. Those three to me is just like 50, just coin flip
Yo,
it. Like,
definitely.
I think this is. I think
Florida's
this event
good too,
is full of
but-
just great teams right now. This event's going to be probably my favorite event to watch as a spectator, just because I think there's a lot of good matches that we're
It
about
should
to
be
see this
spicy.
event.
I'm expecting a lot
This
of
is going
map
to be a
vibes,
spicy
bro.
one. I don't know. I feel like the way people are playing right now, I think we got a lot of teams
Mhm.
that have either gotten better. Like think about it. We're talking about OGLA. They've gotten better. They're playing well. Like London, will Dylan do this? Like Florida, underrated. Like we have a lot of good teams that have gotten better, or we have teams that have been playing well.
For sure.
Well, Chris, if
Competition here, man. Like
if you picked your top 8, or 7 of them here?
Almost, yeah. In my opinion, right now, the way teams are playing, yes. I
So
would
like
say
Ulster's probably the only team I say we'd all agree, probably not. But the other 7, you'd say probably in your top 8?
Yeah, I would think so. So who
Or-
are we missing right now? We're
what,
missing
New York, and Dallas.
Oh, that's true.
Surge and the
New York,
Gorillas,
yeah.
and then New York and Dallas, right?
It's the Gorillas, no. Dallas, definitely. But yeah, I guess the conversation would be subliners, which I'm still not sure where the hell they go.
I love this
whole
talking
thing.
point. Joe, let's get your
Oh, yeah,
predictions
but
before we move on.
You do your thing, yeah.
Oh, dude, Group A. I'm going Atlanta. The thing with Optic is they play Atlanta round 1, and having to win 2 matches in a row to me with that team, I don't know. I can't trust them yet, so I'm not going Optic. I think they're going to be really good, but I'm not going. So to me, I think whoever wins the first matchup between Florida and London, I think that'll give them a lot of confidence.
Uh-huh.
So
Pick one.
Who you getting, Joe?
going Florida.
Oh,
all right.
We got Florida.
And wait,
See,
I didn't do
like
my
this.
group B. I completely we got sidetracked.
Yeah,
My group
we
B is
did.
Huntsmen, and I'm going Rocker, bro. I'm telling you, I'm going Rocker.
I like this. We got
think they
different
can
Hey,
picks.
come
Chris, we
prepared.
got the same picks. High five through the camera.
Oh wait, I might have to take that back.
Oh!
I'm on Maven side
I'm
right
going
now.
Group B, I go Chicago, Paris.
Okay.
I like what Paris do. I think they're confident in one another.
We're 50-50 on Group B, and then A, we got some different picks, and I absolutely love it. All right, cool.
Yeah, screw it.
I like it. The 50-50 ones are tough, man. I'm putting my faith
I
in the
got no
Royal.
idea.
Yeah, totally, man. Okay, cool. So over the course of this season, throughout the episodes of the podcast, we're gonna keep a note. We are already keeping score, so do not worry. And then as the season
we
goes
are?
on, we sure are. So
I was 4 for 4 last week.
we'll keep you guys updated on the score on our predictions throughout the season. Just a little fun game to play on the side. But yeah, sort of the things you guys were talking about, like the overall weight of the teams that are here. Like it's very top heavy, right? Like teams that aren't here are some of the, I guess, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel. It's kind of rude to say that, but they're struggling, right? No other way to say that. So it's gonna be interesting to see if we see the difference of quality of gameplay throughout the weekend here, and I definitely think we're going to. I'm expecting a lot of really tight maps, a lot of long series with the caliber of talent that we have at this one. Super excited to see how the matches play out. So I don't know if you guys have any other talking points. I can walk us through the group play schedule. We can
The only other thing that'll be interesting for me is just that like the teams that were at London versus the teams that like weren't there, right? So like you have Minnesota, Paris, you have Florida and London. Like who's gonna win those matchups? Because there hasn't been really that much time to like search that much. Like you're going to have your default strategies that you're going to go back to. You're going to have your map vetoes. Like it'll be interesting because I think this will be something we'll have to try to pay attention to. It's going to be tough, but like from event to event of who's winning these round 1 matchups, like who just came off an event versus who took a break and had more time to prepare for a team. Because even the other way is these other teams didn't play in an event. They kind of, right, there's the other side of the coin to it where the teams coming off the break, like maybe they don't win round 1s as often because they're not used to being in that tournament mode. So it'll be something to pay attention to throughout the year.
Extra land practice, it's crucial, especially at this point in the game. There's been a lot of changes to the game itself. Teams haven't had really that much time. Those extra land reps could be very, very important. Joe, you're smart. That was a great point there, buddy.
Yeah.
As we move forward, I'm going to bring up the schedule right now of our group play schedule, which you guys will obviously see on Saturday right there. Bang. That match number 1 is going to be the Rocker versus Paris Legion. Then we got the Royal Ravens versus Florida, Chicago versus the Ultra, And then following up is the Faze versus Optic Gaming. I don't know why I said the Faze like that, but pretty crazy matchups in my opinion. I think a lot of these are going to be really, really close besides the Chicago versus Toronto one, and I can't wait to see how they play out. I don't know if, I guess we can just give different talking points on these individual matchups moving forward. And then obviously the overall talking point throughout the weekend is Atlanta versus Chicago. But let's sort of like lead up to that point, give our thoughts on some of these matches. Joe, you kind of did it in your predictions of like these round ones are very important, right? It's if you lose that first one, it's tough to win 2 in a row, especially in groups this tight.
Yeah, it's tough, like just sort of dropping down. I mean, you'll have to play later on that day. You don't have like a day to sort of reset. But I mean, Minnesota, Paris for me, like Paris could have been in the grand final last event. Mm-hmm. Like they took Chicago to the distance. I know we touched a lot on Minnesota's coaching staff. I think Josh has done a wonderful job over on the Paris side as well. Has really gotten them sort of into tip-top shape. Like, I just don't think people expected Paris to be this great, but they are. Like, I don't know if you're going to get a Dens-esque event that you got at London every single time, but they have the pieces like Luka and Shocks. Like, these other players can step up. So for Minnesota, it's can you win almost like can you win a hard point off of them? Because I don't know, man. Like they beat Chicago in 2 of them in a semifinal. Like that's impressive. A statement to me. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for that round 1.
I don't know, man. You guys have given the Rocker some props. I'm not sold. I don't know.
I'm not either.
Paris, it has seriously impressed me. I don't know if again, we didn't see a lot from the Rocker. I totally get it, right? But like Paris, I feel like has a formula and a play style and like a map pool. It seems like that's going to be really good versus a lot of these teams, and that's why I give them so much stock right now. It is sort of like a gamble call at this point. We haven't seen a lot yet, but Paris just they have like spicy gameplay. I don't know. It's such a weird take on it, but I just feel like they're gonna smoke the Rocker personally.
The thing is too, it's like the Rocker went 2-0, but like they also played 2 of the weakest teams at launch. Like they played the Gorillas in Toronto,
and they had
like
a very controversial win.
Yeah,
right?
It looks shaky.
They went. Didn't they go like map 5 with Toronto, or they've gone the? All I'm saying is like they've lost maps to like or they had close maps with some of the weaker teams. So I think a lot of the hype from Minnesota comes just off of preseason practice and scrims. This will be like honestly their first true test for me, because now that we know Toronto and the Gorillas sort of where they stand, this for me is match 1. Sort of says to me, where's Minnesota? Right, because that's where we're trying to find people's placings.
Yeah. The reason why I picked Rocker is I think we're going off of scrims and like we haven't seen much about them. From what you guys obviously know, I love Paris. I've loved them since like their team formed, and even if we don't get a Dens-esque kind of event of what you just seen, I think Kismet's amazing. Like I think Kismet's a very good player. I think he is good. I think people have not given him his full-on credit yet. Still, I think he is a good player. Last year, I thought he was great on E6. So, like, I think they have more pieces to that puzzle where they don't need to rely on Dens, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing for them. I think on paper, you would say Paris, like that. But the reason why I'm going Minnesota, I just feel like they're going to come out, and if they need to make a statement right now, because I know Brian Sain has talked very highly about their scrims and stuff on Twitter. I've seen some of his tweets about him defending his team with map counts and stuff. But like, I think honestly that if they're going to make a statement, I think it'd be right here. So I think that's going to ride the momentum for them. I hope it's now, but man, that all I know is that I think that's going to be a good match.
Clint, you're going to participate here? Or you're just playing with your dog, man. What you got for us, bro?
I got a little buddy.
What does Copper think? What does Copper?
Who are we picking? I want you to not make any sound if it's Rocker and bark if it's Paris. I picked Rocker to come out, dude. I didn't say how it was going to happen. Okay, Rocker.
All right, there you go.
We're
Copper thinks Rocker.
Well, you didn't bring up any talking points about the series, so yes, we can move on.
Alrighty, throw out the schedule.
I thought you guys nailed it, bro. Really good job from you guys.
Clint.
Great analysis from that guy.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Really doing your part here.
Good job,
Next
Copper.
matchup, we got the Ravens versus the Mutineers. Should be a pretty good one as well. and I gave my thoughts on London. I'm really backing them to put up another strong showing here. I think some of the individuals on London underperformed at the last tournament. I'm not expecting that to happen again. I fully expect Weston to keep up at least a certain percentage of what he's been able to do so far. The guy looks legit. So I am very confident in the Royal Ravens. However, Joe, you're a big Florida guy over there, man. You're a big Florida guy, seems like.
I'm not like a huge Florida guy.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things. I think this is a big 50-50. I want to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I just think this is still a very solid roster. Like I just think like they should be a great S&D team. And that to me is just so important, like in this league, to have strong surge. We've already seen like teams struggle with it and what's happened.
Yeah.
I just think this is a roster that's sort of flown under the radar because they didn't participate at London. And I think just due to London playing a lot at London, they should be able to prep. So that's why I'm going Florida.
See, I'm going London for like the opposite reason of the fact they got that event under their belts, and I think probably learned their weaknesses and stuff that to work on a little bit more. I think that's why I'm going London. Like, I get your point; they have the research to do, but London have the reps. So,
sure, yeah. I mean, there's that argument, like, I like CS all the time, where like your momentum is going, and then there's teams that burn out. Like, I get it. So, it'll be interesting to see how that sort of
I think
itself out.
I think overall, that's just going to be the interesting thing is how the teams that weren't in London play.
Yeah,
because I think we saw, at least from my POV, and it's not as expert as your guys's, but I thought we watched teams improve just over the course of the weekend, not just in scrims, but like literally at London. I thought teams were improving. So,
no, that land practice is huge.
It's massive. So I don't know. I mean, I'm worried that some of these teams that didn't play might just get smoked. I mean, with that said, I took Optic and Rocker to come out. So with that said, I'm going against that. But I'm curious to see how it goes because it's just online versus LAN. It's a different beast.
Yeah. My round two, I think London wins this, and not because I think Florida's a bad team. Joe, to what you said, I actually do think that search and destroy like talent on that Florida team is so underrated, and I think it goes a long way. And I think that's the reason why they'll succeed this year if they continue to obviously play their surge and have that roster. And also, I think Pristini, by the way, didn't get his credit last year too much. I know he won a world championship. You don't really hear much about Pristini, but I think he's good at this game. I think he's talented. I think when he is firing on all cylinders, he's a very, very good player. So, like, I think they have a lot to work with. But what Tyler or what TeeP said, I just don't see Dylan underperforming again. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just don't see. I think that London team came to London. They had the crowd. They fell short. They barely lost to Empire. Yeah, they could obviously they could have been down 5-0, like Krim said in the thing, or they could have 3-0. Like, they played a close series, you know, like it was all the maps are close. I just think that team had one player, his name was Wuskin, play well. The other four, in my opinion, did not play to their best of their ability. And I think London still looked pretty good. So I think if you get a better event out of Scraps or Dylan, I think you have such, you know what I'm saying, so much to work with that team. And I don't think Wuskin will drop MVP crazy numbers, but I think Wuskin, every time we play him in scrims and just seeing how he plays and in tens and everything else, he is good at this game. So he'll still be a solid backbone and a very, very above average player. So I think right now it's just kind of asking like, hey, will Dylan or this guy play good? And we all know how good those players are. So it's a no-brainer to me to think that they're going to come here and do very well.
And talking about Dylan too, I think we see, I mean, it's a pattern every single year in that early in the season, ARs put up big numbers. Sub role is much harder to play, getting down timings, getting down position. Like, it's a harder role to play. And the deeper we go into the year, subs get comfortable and start frying. So maybe that's just something with Dylan, because when did he really emerge and start frying last year? Because it was not right at the beginning, right? Wasn't it? When did he really erupt last year?
Well, he wasn't on a pro team in the beginning.
Yes, I'm saying, like, it took a little bit. It was a little bit into the title before he started dominating. And I know I can't speak to as well as you guys, but like, we just see that every year. Like, once sub players start to get comfortable, they start taking over maps. It just takes. It's not as easy as posting up with an AR and knowing your spots.
I just think too. I think those guys put extra pressure on themselves. I mean, honestly, like, that's what we talked about before London. Yeah. Like, those guys want to win at home so bad. They do, man. Yeah. Like, they just want to win in front of like, they want to win, but like, you want to win in front of your hometown. Like, it's different for like a team like any of these North American teams, because they don't really have like a home quite yet. Like, that's what they're building towards, right? Is winning in front of your home. But like, we've been to London before. Those are the UK guys. that is home to them. So it's just it's different for them. And I think maybe like I don't want to say the pressure got to Dylan because they did play really, really well, but like maybe they were putting that extra pressure on themselves so he couldn't perform the way he wanted to.
Could be.
Very good points. Next matchup. I think we're gonna move pretty fast through this next one. I'll throw it up for you real quick.
We can skip it and go to the next one.
Chicago versus Toronto. I think it's going to be a quick 3-0. I don't have a lot of faith in Toronto. I think Chicago is in that mindset. They got reaffirmed by the victory in London. I think they have their heads on straight. I think they're looking to prove an absolute point here because the looming question on the Chicago Huntsmen is, are they better than Faze? And we haven't seen that yet. So I think Chicago still is looking to prove that point, and it starts there.
Well,
right?
Is it a trap game at all, or does that not really exist with this schedule?
I mean, it could be.
Yes,
right.
Because I feel like with round robin, maybe that'd be a little bit more you have a trap game because, like, I don't know, maybe a loss is as big of a deal. Well, not really, I guess. Just trying to think if this is like a trap game coming off of that high and you're matching up Toronto, you're just thinking 3-0 in your head right before you even play it.
If Toronto looked a little better, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think they have enough pieces to keep up at all.
Well, I'm warming a trap for Chicago just mentally. Like Toronto, I think them looking worse. Them looking so bad makes it even worse of a trap, maybe. But
yeah. You two have thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it could be a trap game, but for Toronto, for me, I don't. Have you scrimmed them, Chris? Like, I don't even know what I don't know what the roster is. Right, that's just going to be the ongoing discussion. Band's played well, but I don't know. Do they have someone from Atlanta on their team? They might just pull them out and put them on the roster. I have no idea. I really don't. So
Brian Saints from Atlanta, he's going to be the starting SMG.
Yeah. So yeah. I think
why did I say Brian Saint? He's with Rocker.
The one thing that for me was that Looney hasn't been playing well. That's like the one thing that stuck out to me is I think he needs to be playing at a higher level.
Is this the least talent that Looney's ever been like surrounded by?
In a while.
I feel like whenever I think of Looney, I think he's got like
that's a good point.
Pretty stacked squad around him. Like,
yeah.
He's always been considered like the captain / leader to like a lot of talented players around him for the most part.
Like not that he's been bad, but like I always just think
the past few years. Yeah, I mean, you could probably say the past few years, absolutely. But
as long as I can remember, I think he's always had.
Well, he was on like those old Rise teams with like Pack and those guys.
Okay, yeah. So starting with like
he didn't start that. Yeah, like he built his way up to that. Yeah.
Well, when did he start being on like really good spots? Like
AW. His teams were really good. He was played like top 4 teams in AW.
So this is probably like the worst talented team he's been on since AW.
Probably.
I'd have to, okay, I shouldn't say that because I'd have to look at a full list. But I just said my gut. I feel like probably.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I'm looking at the stats for the Toronto team as well. Seems like everyone's hovering right at a 1, and then Looney's at like a 0.87. So like the stats don't really dictate too much, really. Everyone's just playing like super average, and it's just like it doesn't excite me at all. There's no like standout player. It's not like Zinni's dropping like a 1.2 or something like that. I just don't see anything special from the team at all. I'm hoping one of them can step up and prove me wrong, but I just can't give them any faith right now. And it's just like it's not much of a talking point for me. Maybe that'll change.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would obviously go with Chicago here. The only maybe like the trap game in the sense of it would be search and destroy for me. Maybe they come like they look so good at search in London that maybe they get a little bit like lazy. I don't think Chicago is really going to do that with the players and the coaching staff over there. Like I just don't think Like I just don't think that's their mindset right now. I think Chicago is still very hungry. I think they look very good. I think they're obviously very, very confident in their own game right now. So I feel like even if Toronto were to come out and play really well, I just think Chicago right now is just overall.
I mean, this is the best case for like someone who just won is to have a tournament 2 weeks after. I mean,
like right away.
All momentum. Like when you look at like our dynasties throughout the passive Call of Duty, it's over like 6 to 8 weeks, right? Because when you win, you have confidence in each other. And when there's this many events back to back to back to back, it's hard for other teams to catch up, right? Because there's not time for them to prep and get better. It's just the way it is. So that momentum and confidence in yourself, it just builds. So this is the dream for Chicago.
Definitely. Okay. Moving on to the last match there of the round 1s. We got Faze versus Optic Gaming LA. Ooh, will this be spicy? I don't know.
I guess I'm just hoping it is. Like I
Could be.
picked Optic to come out of the group. I do not see them beating Faze whatsoever. But do I think we can learn a lot from Optic in this series? Yeah. I mean, I think they just need to play him tough. I think they just need to not come out getting smoked, and I'm impressed, I guess.
The good thing for like Faze is that Optic's been playing better online, because this could be a big trap game, right? Like sort of what we talked about. But the fact that Optic's shown improvements just sort of says like, hey, guys, like we have to take this. We have to play at our full potential right away. Because if they're still getting smoked online, and it's like, it's Optic, we beat them every day online, like we'll just do our thing and we'll come out okay. Because Optics, we're always going to say they have the talent to be good enough. It's just if they can put together a good game. But if they are improving, this could be interesting. But I just think Faze is Faze for me.
Do you think? Sorry, go ahead, TeeP.
I was gonna say, I think Faze is gonna come out absolutely hungry. I don't think Optic is gonna have has had enough time to really make these crazy improvements. I think in like a month, or maybe like a month or two, I have a different take on the Optic gaming team. But like right now, I just think like Faze has just been sitting there waiting, stewing. Like that Chicago win probably pissed off Faze, the players on it. I think they're gonna come out statement match, and I think, I don't know. I don't want to speak on your team, Crowder, too much, obviously, but like I feel like it's a good recipe for Faze. They get tested right away, and it's going to be a good recipe to Faze to show off how good they really are. So I think Optic's kind of screwed in this one, personally.
I just have a question for Chris. Do you think? So we talked about Faze, and one thing that was impressive with them early was you guys didn't have that mental roadblock that a lot of teams did with regards to the spawn stink, this and that, just making excuses and getting through it. Optic was one of the more vocal teams with that. Like it felt like they just weren't improving because they couldn't get past how bad they thought the game was, how many issues there were. Do you think like a couple weeks ago I think we saw like Cap and Slasher tweeting that they got 10 PlayStations together, they watched spawns, like they were going crazy. Do you think they've now accepted that spawns are different? They might not be great, but we just have to get better. Like, do you think they've hit that point yet? That they're actually going to improve and they've got past the whole just blaming the game thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think they've gotten way better. I think they're the team with the talent, and I think after the Minnesota event, like with someone like Slasher, knowing him as well as I do, it's just like, yeah, he's not going to go to that event, go 0-2 and just be like, oh, the game sucks, like chalk it. Like he's gonna, no matter what, eventually you're gonna be like, all right, it's time to like rally the troops and actually do the thing now and get better. So like I think they got past that part, and I think they, like I said, I think they've gotten way better. I think they're a great team. The only thing I'll really touch on is like the trap game. Like for us, like I know obviously we have a lot of hype around our names, but you guys know me pretty well. The one thing I can't stand, like now that I'm not a player, especially, and like just being a coach, is like watching a team, especially my team or any team, just like play and just whine and complain and just like waste time. Especially even like me watching, like I'm not playing, so it's like even a waste of time for me. You know what I'm saying? I hate that. So it's like if we play an amateur team, or we play this team, a team that's struggling, or we play Chicago, like I expect the same intensity at all times, because at the same, like there's just no reason not to. Like you don't practice for very long. You play 4 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? Scrims are realistically like 4 to 5 hours. Obviously players put in so much more work than that. I'm not even going to go down that road, but like you play for 4 hours or 5 hours a day with your team. Do not get on and just waste people's time and your own time. It's, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's like the one like mindset. Even like with 100 Thieves, we had a pretty good one, like before we won, especially like, don't just like show up to practice and give it your all, and never ever like underestimate people. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think we have that trap mindset, and that's like the one thing I really harp on. I feel like effort in Call of Duty is like one of the biggest pieces to being successful, is just showing up the scrims and actually trying to get better. So I don't think that would be our thing. I think we respect them. I can say this publicly for my team. We respect them very well. We think they're a very good team, and we're, you know what I'm saying? Like we're ready to play. Like that's just all it's going to be. Like I think OGLA is a great team, and that's not going to be like something like, oh, these guys went 0-2 like that. I don't know. That's really it.
Yeah, cool. Really good points. So I guess everyone's sort of prediction is Faze is going to end up beating Optic, right? And you guys don't think anything crazy is going to happen. Obviously, Crowder, you have you think your team's going to win, so that's pretty obvious there. But
I can't really say anything else.
So yeah, moving forward, I mean, we all have our predictions of who's going to make it out of the groups. I think we all, I don't want to talk for everyone here, but the talking point for this one is definitely,
it's what people want to see.
Yeah.
Right?
It's Atlanta versus Chicago, right? That's the looming matchup. The groups, it might line up perfectly where we get that in the final, right? So it's just like,
Chris, you guys just scrimmed. How'd it go?
Yeah, scrims.
It went well, but it's scrims, man.
Yeah,
Like,
How'd it go, Chris? Can you break down like the score?
we won most maps, but like once again,
put him in a tough spot here.
Yeah, because you guys just know I hate talking like this.
No, I know.
But,
that's why I wanted you to say it.
Nah, but once again, like it's like the way I view it and the way my team views it is like scrims are scrims, and like they're meant to improve. Winning maps, you should still be improving and losing them. So it's like,
sure, but yeah.
I don't know. That's how we view it. Like, no matter what, if my team loses 8 maps in a row, we're still confident. If we win 8 maps in a row in the scrim, we're still like, what I'm saying? All this is to improve, and that's it. Like, we're not like gonna talk shit over scrims or make some stupid comment. Yeah, like we're just head down and grind. That's all it is.
I like that, but from a fan standpoint, like not even the commentator, I mean, just like the fan standpoint, like Chicago winning, Atlanta winning, and now them scrimming and Atlanta winning is like the perfect storm. Like for me, like that has me more excited
for the hype of
than
the match,
anything. Yes, exactly. Like if you guys would have scrimmed, like Chicago would have shit on you. Would I've still cared? Absolutely. But I think that is perfect. Like Huntsmen win, everyone's hyping up Huntsmen. They get back home. Faze is still dead. Like they still beat him in the scrim, and now it just sets this up for what. I mean, I think we're all hoping. Everyone in the world is hoping.
It could be a semifinal match too, right? Like,
yeah, right.
We expect like both of them to get out of groups, but it could be a semifinal match.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just what it could be. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of what we talked about for Chicago, right? Like all that energy and focus on the Dallas rivalry and this and that. Like, was that the team? Like, or is Faze still there, right? Like, don't forget about us type thing. Just because we missed a weekend. So it'll be really interesting to watch. It'll also be interesting. Like, I know we all want it to happen, but if like one of them falls short, the other one wins the tournament, kind of how that sort of plays out too.
Right.
But I think that's what everybody
falling short. Well, we talked about it a little bit too. It's like falling short here is like it's that once you get out of groups, man, you got no mistakes. Period. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Chicago could have lost to Paris easily.
Right. That's what I was going to bring up. It's kind of like
it's not as easy as people make it out to win these events. So it's pretty crazy. That's why I love this format so much.
It's kind of like lopsided data to go off of as well. Like, let's not pretend that the Huntsmen weren't tested at all. They very well, like, even the final. Yes, it was a 3-0, but how close were those damn maps? All of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's really
no room for error, man.
There's so many little things can really add up, and it's like, on one side, it's like, do you make the claim where Huntsmen looked weak against these teams that might not be on Faze's caliber? Do you weigh that into your decision when you make a prediction on this matchup that may or may not happen? It's like, we have a decent amount of stuff to go off of for Huntsmen, and all we have for Faze is the matches that we saw at launch and scrims, right? So it's like, I don't know. Huntsmen, will they have that same motivation? It's more of like a friendly rivalry with the Faze side, right? So it's just like, there's not that same, passion, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it's like, Huntsman very well could have lost a couple of times too. So I don't know.
Well, I think what's cool about this though is I think if you had the really in the know people or like your Reddit users or people that are really into it, like us, we get what's going on. I think most of us in that matchup would pick Faze. But I think the general public or like your average viewer with Chicago coming off a win and having a scump, like the general public, like most people probably think that Huntsmen are going to win this thing. And I could be wrong, but like I bet that's kind of the general conception is that Huntsmen are the best team and they're going to win this thing. And I just do not think that's the case. So that's why it's going to be a fun week.
It's just like tough because like Chicago's done it. And it's just one of those things where just haven't seen Atlanta do it. Like that's the tough part. That's what Chris is talking about. It's not an easy format. It's difficult to do. There's a lot of very, very talented teams. It's not difficult to lose one best of 5 and be out of it. So just Chicago's tested. Like we know Chicago is a complete team. Like they won game 5s. Like you had Scump dropping double-digit 10 streaks. Like that's everything those fans could want.
100%. So who's your favorite to win? I know what the answer is.
It's probably Faze. Yeah.
I'm picking Faze too.
So like, you can say all that, but like I'm still picking Faze.
My decision was based on the matches that I saw from the Huntsmen. They could have lost to Paris. Even the Empire matches at times were close. Are those teams on the same level as Faze? It's all I have to go off of. Land matches in a very important environment where they showed weakness, right? So it's like that's where my decision is based on. I understand that that's gonna piss Chicago fans off. I'm giving like credit to Faze where it might not be due yet, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like when you look at this matchup, it's just like I think everybody sort of knows the tiny terrors are there. Like if Chicago for me is going to win, it is on our cities and formal. Like can they Big Papa, Celium, and Major Maniac? That is sort of the question when you're looking at the matchup. So I don't know. It'll be crazy. I don't know. It'll be a fun one.
I mean, we gassed the shit out of Envoy last week, and I think he's as good as we're saying he is. But he's got to test if this is the final.
Phenomenal.
He's got to test.
Yeah.
I know, but he has not played against those two.
No, my point is like doing that again. That was crazy.
But he's probably gonna have to play like that. I mean, those two are nuts, man.
Yeah, I mean the one thing I'll touch on to what you said about Chicago TeeP is like I don't really think it's this format, and like we've all played in like LAN environment. Like a win is a win, right? Like
for sure.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like Chicago won that event, and if you win 3-0, 3-2, 3-0 with close maps, like you won. And obviously a 3-0, obviously you can make it look worse or better than it was by like comparing the scores and stuff. I saw a lot of people doing that on Twitter as well. But just in this format and how it goes, like I wouldn't say it was really a Chicago showing weakness as much as it is just team. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a competitive league, man. This is a competitive league. Like we were looking at the groups before, like these teams are good, so it just really comes down to just showing up on that day, and they're having no room for error is what I was saying before. Like you cannot show up on a Sunday and not execute. You have to. You know what I'm saying? You have one, like think about my team last year. 100 Thieves is the best example at Champs. We showed up and got, what did we get? 3-0'd by LG in Champs, and then we got second place. We ran through the rest of the bracket, except for that Faze match. But like,
thanks, dude.
We ran through the rest. But other than that Faze match, we ran through the bracket. It's just like this bracket, you can't come out on that Sunday Final Four and just flop first match and then be like, oh, it's all good, regain, and then make it to the finals. That there is no room for error. So it's like, I think that also adds the intensity and adds the passion to a lot of these teams. So like, if you drop a map here and there, like this like Huntsman, I wouldn't say that's really weakness as much as just like the environment of these lands and how this game plays out. Sometimes there are some spawns here and there, but like I don't know. I really hope that we get that matchup because, like you said, it's a friendly rivalry. We love playing them. They love playing us, and like there's always friendly banter, obviously, within the chat and stuff between Abizi and everybody because that's just how he is. He's always joking around. So. I think my
thing's simple. They lost 2 hard points to Paris, right? I think your team's better than Paris. That's where I'm making my claims. I don't know. I have to point out weakness where I see it. So like when I'm making a blind guess, I totally you're giving credit to other teams. I respect Chicago's win. I know I'm gonna piss off fans regardless. I'm making a call. You know what? I'm going with it. I'm excited. All right,
Should
guys.
Be lit.
Any other talking points? We good?
I think we're good.
Cool.
We're good.
All right, folks. You guys can check out the CDL Atlanta homestand this weekend, starting on Saturday morning. We went through the groups, the matches. Now we got to wait and see how it all plays out at the tournament itself. I hope you guys enjoy watching the tournament. We will have an episode on the following week after, and hope to see you then. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.